Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie is probably the best film of the year so far, and nobody really knows what the movie is besides YouTubers who went to expensive film festivals or people that spend way too much time on Reddit. I'm unfortunately the bigger loser of the two. I spent a lot of money to go to the Toronto International Film Festival last year, where I got to attend the Midnight Madness screening for this film, and it was by far one of the best theater experiences I have ever had. But I wanted to make sure that screening wasn't an outlier, you know, because it's such a Toronto movie. Clearly, the Toronto people were very excited to see what Matt Johnson and Jay McCarroll were up to. And I wanted to experience this movie in a bit of a tamer crowd. So I saw it the second weekend it was in theaters at a screening in Florida. I brought my friend and my girlfriend. He loved it. She laughed like 4 times, I think. And I once again had an absolute blast, even without the Midnight Madness crowd of TIFF. But I think the biggest battle this movie is facing is that nobody really knows what this movie is. Some people think it's about the actual Nirvana band. Other people think they have to watch the show to watch the movie. And I think people believe there's some sort of imaginary barrier to entry when it comes to watching this movie. And my job here is to convince you to give it a chance, because I really truly believe by the end of 2026, when it comes to the end of December, this is probably going to be on my top 10 movies of 2026 list. And if it's not, we are in store for an unbelievable year of movies, and I would be super stoked about that. And both the director Matt Johnson and his creative partner Jay McCarroll, who are the stars of the film, have kind of been on the record of saying they're kind of tired of explaining what the show and Nirvana the band actually is.
My opinion is you're better off not watching the show and knowing nothing about us before you see this movie.
And I think you could totally go into this movie not knowing a single thing about it and still have an absolute blast. I think they're completely right on that. But I want to tell you what this is all about from the perspective of somebody that is not obsessed with the show. I still have yet to watch the show because I want as many people as possible to see this movie, whether it's in theaters or renting it when it comes out. If you like laughing, you are going to like this movie a lot. And the reason I was so interested in this from the jump, I mean, Matt Johnson is a guy I didn't know much about for a while. The first thing I saw from him was The Dirties, and it was one of those times where I've only seen it once, but that one viewing I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, this is one of my favorite movies. And I feel like that feeling doesn't occur to me a lot anymore. You know, I watch a lot of movies and I'm like, yeah, that was really good, that was great, even amazing, but I feel like it's very rare on a first time viewing where I'm like, man, that was just fucking awesome. I'm somebody that, as most of you know, is trying to make their own movies and get things up and running while also talking about movies on the internet. So to see somebody tell a story in a genre that at the time was super overdone, right? Like the whole found footage thing was kind of restricted to horror movies and there weren't that many creative ideas. Like I know Chronicle was a big deal, but nobody had made anything like The Dirties. You know, it was super hilarious about a very serious subject at the same time. And it's one of those movies, as soon as you're done watching it, you're like, man, like it is truly possible to make something great with almost zero budget. The next film I saw from Matt Johnson was Blackberry. And when I realized it was him making it, I was like, that's such a crazy choice to make the movie about the making of the BlackBerry phone. It just felt like such an odd mix to me. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this is why they were picked for this project. Blackberry is another great film. I'm not going to say it's like top 10 of the decade for me, but if I were to sit here and really list out like the top 30, 35 films of the 2020s so far, I think it absolutely makes the list. It's a great film if you haven't seen it. So those two films alone had sold me on whatever Matt Johnson was doing next, and he pretty much took that money and made Nirvana the band, the show, the movie. So what is like the deal with this entire show? Nirvana the band, the show started off as a web series back in 2007, 2008, super low budget when these guys were super young. Eventually Viceland bought the rights to make it an actual show, so they made 2 seasons with a much higher budget. And the entire point of the show is every single episode they are trying to play a gig at the Rivoli, which is pretty much like a pool dive bar kind of thing in Toronto. As soon as I saw this movie at TIFF, I knew I had to play pool there. It was an awesome time. But they can never book the Rivoli. Like that's the whole thing. Every episode is like this elaborate plan or scheme to get themselves to get booked at this place. And it just never works out. And the original reason I thought they were called Nirvana the band was to intentionally trick the Rivoli into booking them, which is obviously implied, but the characters themselves like don't even realize Nirvana is an actual band. So that's kind of the headspace the characters are in. In terms of the actual filmmaking, most of the episodes are a parody of some sort of huge blockbuster film. I know my friends from the Intercut podcast were huge fans of the movie, and before I saw the movie, the only thing I saw was the museum episode, or at least parts of it. Zach Shevich sat me down and was like, this is what you need to watch. And I would say that is what you should watch too. Watch like the first first 10 minutes of the museum episode. I believe it's episode 7 of season 2, where it's like this Indiana Jones parody. And the big part of the filmmaking is these two are always in character, but they interact with real people in Toronto. And a lot of times they'll set up these elaborate schemes, kind of jackass, almost Borat style in a way. And a lot of times getting those raw reactions from people is what makes the show and the movie in this case. Viceland ended up canceling the show, so there was never a season 3. And as of right now, there is no legal way to watch the show. Matt Johnson said in an interview recently that Neon has picked up the rights, so the show will be able to stream eventually. But my point being is, like, if you feel like you need to watch the show to watch the movie, I really don't think you have to. I think if you watch 10 minutes of an episode, you'll quickly understand like what the show is all about. And now we have Nirvana the band, the show, the movie, which is essentially the biggest episode of the show ever. And I think the reason everybody that sees this film kind of loves it is the fact that it's wild and it's hilarious. And that's all you need when it comes to making a comedy. I've been beating this drum for years that we're kind of in a timeline where movies aren't funny anymore. And our standard for what is funny has been ruined by people online have gotten so funny to the point that people that get the chance to write a movie most of the time just aren't that funny. I just feel like when your comedy options are Sorry Baby and Ant-Man 3, you live in a really ruined universe. And there used to be nothing better than sitting down at night with a bunch of your friends and putting on a hilarious movie, whether that be in theaters, whether that be at home together. We're really missing that. And Nirvana the band, the show, the movie completely satisfies that craving that I've had. And this is the part of the video where if you haven't seen the movie or know nothing about the movie, like, please ruin my watch time. It will kill the views on this video. But I truly feel like going into this blind is a one-of-a-kind experience. And I would not want you to be ruined. Any of the stunts, jokes, one-liners, whatever it is, like, you have to go in knowing nothing. But if you just need a little bit more selling, or you've seen the movie and want to hear me talk about why I love it so much, this is the part of the video where I praise pretty much everything about this movie, which is weird to do because I feel like there's very few times where it almost feels dumb for talking about a movie, in the sense that everything you see on screen, it just kind of speaks for itself. Like, yeah, the movie's funny, but I think what really left me the most impressed was the movie magic that these guys have pulled off. I know magic has been talked about a lot when it comes to Nirvana the band, the show, the movie. Like, that seems to be the key word that everyone is using, but there's no other way to explain it. The first time I saw it, I truly believed almost everything on screen. The CN Tower sequence, the first time I saw it, it is so convincing how they pull it off that I knew in my head, I'm like, there's no way they actually did this. But it was so insane and so believable how they filmed the entire thing that to this day, don't know. But the way they set up every shot, the way they use different types of footage when they're on top of the tower about to parachute. Like, there's a lot of people that say my jaw was on the floor, and it's like, yeah, we know it wasn't. We know you just want the quote for the poster. But this was one of the few times in the past like 3 or 4 years where my jaw was on the floor the entire CN Tower sequence. It is one of the most wild stunts ever pulled off in a movie, even if it's fake. Like, I just feel like the way it is all assembled with different types of footage makes the entire thing so believable. And clearly they had to go up there a lot. Clearly they had to get a lot of footage. Maybe they did jump off the tower and there's zero visual effects. I just can't think of a comedy film though that has an opening as strong as that. You know, like a true set piece that stands up with a lot of the best openings to a lot of movies I've seen in my entire life. And I think what makes this film better than a lot of other comedies or a lot of other movies in general is there's a lot of times where I walk out of a movie and it'll have a sequence like that, but the rest of the movie's just kind of good or pretty good or never lives up to that moment. I think a good example of that, honestly, is the most recent Mission Impossible film, where the plane sequence is absolutely unreal. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my entire life. True jaw-dropping moment as well, but the rest of the movie is terrible. It's got terrible writing, terrible jokes, terrible pacing, just everything you don't want in a movie. And Nirvana the band, the show, the movie is the exact opposite of that. It starts off great and it is just as great the entire time. Like, they don't hit the highs in terms of maybe wildness that the CN Tower sequence is, but they stay at that same level of entertainment the entire way through. And that is what I am so impressed by. What makes the movie so big is it's a ripoff of Back to the Future this time. And the time travel sequences, like, I thought they were impressive the first time I saw it, but admittedly, it took me listening to Matt Johnson at the Q&A talk about it afterwards, like just how impressive the editing work here is, because they time travel back to 2008, which to me was just kind of one of those moments where I didn't think we were at the point yet where 2008 was going to become nostalgic. And as soon as I'm looking at the billboards that they got up there in Toronto, I was like, holy shit, I'm getting so old. I have to start making more things right now. But they're essentially writing new scenes to match footage that they shot back in like 2007, 2008, that time period. And it matches up so perfectly that at first I was like, oh yeah, this is just cool visual effects. But the way they described the work that the editors did, Kurt Lobb and Robert Upchurch, I had to look up their names because they deserve so much respect for what they've done. They essentially combed through hundreds of hours of old footage from the web series and kind of went to Matt and Jay and said, hey, this is what you have to do. This is exactly what you have to say. This is exactly where you have to be in frame. And this is how it's going to match up. And this is why we're doing it. So they're essentially stepping into the role of not just editors. They're pretty much writing and directing at the same time. And I'm in no way a professional filmmaker, but one of the things I've done a lot of is editing. Like that's kind of been my main thing over the past 10 years at this point. And whenever I shoot or write anything, I'm always thinking of the edit in mind. And this takes that concept to a completely different level that I didn't think was possible. I've seen it twice, and I think the part that has made me laugh the hardest both times is definitely the part where he goes in to watch The Hangover. And the fact that that joke is what makes him aware that he is in 2008, it cracks me up. You know, like when you used to watch movies and you would just like be going about your day and you think of a joke in a movie and it just makes you laugh weirdly in public. This is the first joke in a while that's done that. I have consistently cracked up at it. His facial expression in that moment is hilarious. And I'm going back to the visual effects because I do think we live in a time where the Oscars tend to award movies that when it comes to visual effects are the most flashy. And there are so many movies out there that use visual effects that seem so seamless that you don't even notice it half the time. But the way they do it here is like as seamless as it gets. They're clearly using a lot of in-camera techniques to help with the visual effects. And I just think the way they pull off a lot of these things is really impressive. I don't think this movie is going to make a run for any Academy Awards. I would love to live in that reality, but I just think the work they pull off here is absolutely great. And even after the time travel sequence, just like the movie just has this nice progression of we're going into different like sections. It almost feels like different episodes in a way of like this one big arc that they would have done in a show where like everything after they get back into 2025 is also hilarious. The montage of Jay being a celebrity is classic. The use of filming at Drake's mansion when the bodyguard got shot. It's all these little things that add up. And it's one of these movies, again, like I don't want it to be a cop-out answer where it feels like there's not much I can talk about because the movie, it just speaks for itself, man. It has a lot of heart. Like, yeah, the writing of the jokes is funny, but there's also like this really heartfelt moment that even though I didn't watch the show, you feel like there's this sort of emotional payoff if you had watched the show. The closest I felt to this was there's a huge British show called The In-Betweeners. A lot of Americans don't know what it is. Me and my friends were obsessed with that show. It's not a lot of episodes similar to Nirvana, the band, the show, and it just cracks me up to a different degree. And the movie, there's two movies. The second one sucked. So Matt and Jay, if you're thinking about making a second movie, watch In-Betweeners movie 1 and 2. Don't do what 2 did. But the first In-Betweeners movie is hilarious. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time. But there's also in that film just like this emotional payoff of, man, I've watched this entire show and the movie is like 85 to 90% funny. I think that's even doing a disservice. It's more like 97% funny. And then it'll just hit you with like that 3% that just makes you feel so nice. And it feels like you've lived with these people, that they become like real friends. I don't think a lot of movies pull that off. Like one of the reasons Dazed and Confused is my favorite movie is I feel like I'm connected to a lot of those people. And sure, it's because a lot of those characters remind me of certain people that I was friends with at different parts of my life. But those characters themselves feel like real people, real friends that you're catching up with. The In-Betweeners does the same thing. I haven't seen Nirvana the show for the 100th fucking time I've said that in this video, but it already gives me that feeling, you know, like this is a movie I've only seen twice. I wanted to see it a third time in theaters. Don't think I was able to pull it off in time, but it is something I will rewatch again. I plan on watching the show and then rewatching the movie. It has like this addictive like quality, and not a lot of movies do this. You probably get like maybe 1 to 3 movies a year where it feels like a bag of chips where you just like can't stop. You just want to keep watching it. And I can't wait to watch this again. I keep going back and forth if this is my favorite movie of the year because there's another film called Omaha, which I saw at last year's Sundance, which is completely different from what this movie is. Very serious drama, but it also blew me away. So I keep going back and forth which one I like more. But at this current moment, I know I have more recency bias towards Nirvana, but I can't stop thinking about this movie. It is so fun. And I just want to keep watching it with people that have no idea what it is. Just like The In-Betweeners. It's kind of filling that gap for me. And I think once I watch the show and watch the movie again, it's going to be on that level of In-Betweeners for me. Like it really could match that. And if you don't know, The In-Betweeners is my favorite show of all time. So this is a pretty damn high bar. And the more I talk about it, I probably like this more than Omaha. I'm going to rewatch Omaha. I'm going to talk about Omaha. Get Omaha on your schedule. It's a great film. Apparently the next film from Matt Johnson and his crew is this Anthony Bourdain biopic, which again, it's just like Blackberry. I would not think that's what he's going for, but I am just so excited to see what he does with it. Like, he has earned so much trust from me in doing whatever he wants to do. I love his filmmaking style. I hope it never changes, but if he does change it, I think this guy and this team is just filled with talent. Clearly they love what they do, and it really comes out on screen. And I know that's a cliche thing to say, but I've seen so many fucking soulless movies over the past 10, 15 years. That's just so nice to watch movies from somebody that clearly cares. You know, it's just so refreshing to me. And if the Anthony Bourdain movie comes out by the end of the year, like maybe it knocks out Nirvana the Van for my top 10 of the year. Maybe they both make my top 10 of the year. But yeah, there's not much to analyze here. You know, I'm not gonna be one of these people that tries to make this into some pretentious dissection of what makes the film work as much as it does. If you're putting my quote on the poster, it's great fucking time. Please watch it. Let me know what you thought of it. Let me know if you have watched this show and what you thought of the movie. If you also had never seen the show and then watched the movie, what were your thoughts? I would love to have a discussion with you guys in the comment section down below. And this is Chase. Thank you so much for watching as always. And if you like this, be sure to keep subscribing because there's gonna be a lot more videos coming very soon. I'm still trying to figure out this channel. I'm still trying to make movies, and Matt Johnson is the perfect teacher for that. So be sure to subscribe, and I hope you have an awesome day. Thanks.